Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends. We're here to celebrate Ellis Jean Smith, or Jean La, or Jamnam Namgye La, as some of his friends, Tibetan and otherwise, called him. Jean La was one of the most remarkable human beings I've had the privilege of knowing. His generosity of spirit was legendary, a generosity that extended from the mere material. Many of us enjoyed his generosity at his homes in Delhi, Mangaramji, Cairo and Jogja, to the non-material, simple but profound scholarly help. His restless intellect, his consuming interest in things Tibetan, was unbounded, yet controlled. A genius, his vision was steadfast. Born when he was a graduate student, armed with the knowledge gained by having studied with one of the most learned Tibetan scholars of the 20th century, Deje Rinpoche, Jean set it upon himself to catalogue the known collections of Tibetan manuscripts and xylographs in the United States and Europe, libraries both private and public. This was in the early 1960s. This began the arc of his life that held a steadfast trajectory. The cataloguing, publication, and preservation of the literary cultures of that huge swathe of territory that extended from Baltistan, southeastern Pakistan, to North India, Nepal, Bhutan, northwest Yunnan province, half of Sichuan province, a good portion of Qinghai, and a portion of Gansu province. In short, the Tibetan cultural area. Enduring some 1,300 years of book production, Jean La was fascinated by this literature, this Tibetan literature, and was therefore one of the great archaeologists of the written text. Thousands of Tibetan books were published in India, Bhutan. Many of them were published under the so-called PL 480 program, a brainchild of the young Jean La. Their contents range from scientific, medicine, astronomy, pharmacology, to the humanities, poetry, biographies, autobiographies, philosophy, to the religious and countless texts on religious ritual. Plus, I might add, the largest epic in the world, the Gesar epic. The presence of many of these volumes, published under the PL 480 program, in libraries around the world, are owed to the visionary genius that was Jean Smith. The final portion of the arc of Jean's life was the TBRC, the Tibetan Buddhist Resource Center, first housed in Cambridge, Massachusetts, with the help of a number of important patrons, among which we have David Lunsford and Tim McNeil of Wisdom Books, and now in New York, again with the help of many patrons, among which we have Donald and Shelley Rubin. The TBRC follows in some respects the transition of printed book to that of the digital book. Jean's genius and love of books led him to think about and put into action the digitization of Tibetan texts for the purposes of preservation and, more importantly perhaps, or perhaps equally important, universal access. The TBRC now has scanned thousands of texts, and they're all available on the web. An unprecedented depository of Tibetan knowledge. Jean's vision has transformed and is transforming the ways in which we in the Academy think about Tibet and its rich culture, its rich literary heritage, and perhaps also the way in which the public at large is thinking about not only Tibet and its cultures, but also about its place, that is the public's place, in the world. TBRC will continue, but in order for it to do so optimally, it will need, of course, I believe, an endowment that ensures certainty of time, place, and operation. It was Jean's vision that such endowment would be possible. It is my personal greatest hope that his vision and last wish of Ellis Jean Smith may become a reality. Let us work together to make this happen. I thank you very much.
I first met Jen Smith 1965. And I was counting this morning when I was coming here, and I think it's more than 46 years. I was then a young man of, I think, about 18 years old, and I was then working at the Tibetan Freedom Press in Darjeeling. I cannot remember who it was, but someone from Delhi had asked him to see me so that I can take him around, because he was in search of some scholars. And I remember vividly now, it was, I think, a very nice sunny day, taking him down to the Tibetan school to meet with the Chamchen Rinpoche, who was then one of the senior teachers. Since then, from time to time, and then Delhi, when he was at the Library of Congress, I quite often will go and visit my friend Gyari Rinpoche and drop by and see him. But most importantly, as you know, Jin's house in Delhi actually became the residence of all the important Rinpoches who will pass through Delhi. Every time, when, for example, the Satyas from Seattle came, when we wanted to have an audience, we'll go to his house. Then, of course, all other, I think, from all the traditions, his house really become. In fact, when you go to his house to meet these great masters, we can clearly see that they take over. It is their house, and you don't even see him. If he's there, he's somewhere in the corner, and we don't even kind of pay attention. But to be very candid, I come to see and realize how much this person has done in the preservation of the great Tibetan civilization. It is for that reason, I think only about 2 years back, I'm really very happy that I finally actually called and went to see him specifically. And I remember very vividly to say that he is indeed a great treasure for us. He felt a little embarrassed because knowing him, but I really wanted to say that, and I'm very happy that I had the opportunity to personally tell that to him. Because even those of us who are in the Tibetan movement, I myself, have come to realization in the last 10, 15 years, what is most important for us is this precious Tibetan Buddhist culture. And I don't think it is an exaggeration to say that no single person has done so much as this person has done. Much more than even many of our great masters and witches have done. Let me be very candid. As I'm not a scholar, but a very devout Buddhist, believing in all the important teachings of Buddhism, including the concept of reincarnation, I have no doubt that at this most critical time in the history of the Tibetan people, in order to preserve this wonderful civilization, many great masters, no doubt, if the concept of reincarnation, especially of the Tuku, is a fact, then I really have no hesitations to say that he is indeed one of those, I think, born at this particular time, at this particular place, so that he can play this important role in the preservation of our tradition. So when I was asked some weeks back by you, and especially my friend Tim McNeil, I immediately said, I had a program to be in India. In fact, I flew this morning all the way from India, because just for my personal benefit, I really wanted to be here today to join you, to pay my personal respect, as well as a Tibetan, to this great scholar, to this great human being. I think some 16 years back, when my father passed away, His Holiness was very kind to come to the third week last rites at the Natural Monastery And he made an interesting remark. He says that the quality or the greatness of a person will be seen when they pass away. When they're alive, everyone, will flatter each other, and if there are celebrations, parties, everyone will come and say wonderful things. But when someone passes away, when someone is no more with us, if people still respect them, think of them, pay homage to them, then you can be so sure that that person indeed was someone who really had a meaningful life. So it's very clear, and I think as Jeff said, that not only here, everywhere in the Tibetan Buddhist culture world, great masters, friends, but people who have never even met with him, but who are aware of what he has done, today remember him, respect him. And I think this congregation here is a manifestation of that. So once again, I'm really grateful that you have included me to be part of this gathering, to pay our respect. I just hope that the effort that you have made, the foundation that he has led, will continue. And I again ask those of you who are his colleagues, the scholars, to please continue to follow his footsteps so that the efforts that he has made does not go in waste. So thank you very much. And once again, I'm also, of course, honored that there are so many eminent Rinpoches, scholars. I should have started, by paying my respect to the gathering. But in conclusion, again, I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you.